This is Morgan Freeman. The following is an antisocial network. Special presentation.
The skeleton ran out of shampoo in the shower. The skeleton ran out of shampoo in the shower. The Joker keyed the Batmobile. Joker keyed the Batmobile. Hello. The kitten jumped from treetop to treetop, all nimbly bimbly. The skeleton ran out of shampoo in the shower. Ran out of shampoo in the shower. Very good. Very good. Looking forward to a good show today, gang. Hello. I see you over there. Hi. What's that? Yes, I see you too. We're on the air. Oh God. Excuse me, pardon me. Pardon me. Play a video, please. For God's sakes, just. All right, so there's that. Welcome everybody to the Antisocial Network. I'm Rob Wilds, and today we're going to be covering the assassination attempt of Donald Trump that happened 8 days ago. 8 days ago in Butler, Pennsylvania. Anybody who has any opinions to share, please feel free to type away in the chat room. Looks like I'm doing this one solo tonight. I was supposed to have somebody co-hosting this with me. And, well, speak of the damn devil himself.
Good afternoon.
Well, good afternoon, Mr. Burgundy. It's nice to see you today.
Afternoon to you, too.
Now, see what happens when you don't show up on time? We go on the air. I'm not aware of it. I'm doing my vocal warm-ups, and everybody got to see it because you weren't here to straighten me out, Mr. Butcher.
I was busy.
Fair enough. Good answer. Good answer.
I was busy speaking to my public in Japan.
Oh, well, that's quite interesting. We happen to be right now speaking to our public on a global level right now. So global versus Japan. I'm just saying.
But let me tell you what. Let me tell you something incredible.
Incredible?
Only good things and incredible things can happen to Mr. Burgundy.
Indeed.
So let me rewind several hours.
Several hours. That was me rewinding.
So I had a phone call, and they said, Mr. Burgundy, we have a ticket for you. I said, a ticket? You couldn't have a ticket for Ron Burgundy. So I'll tell you what exactly happened. They said to me, we're going to give you a seat, the best seat in the house, to a wrestling event. I said, a wrestling event? Do I look like I watch wrestling?
Not even a little bit. You look like the most level-headed, calm person I've ever known.
So I thought, the news could do with something big in Japan. Because there's not a lot of things big in Japan.
Besides lizards, Godzilla.
Lizards. I mean, everything else is tiny, small even. And they said to me, Mr. Burgundy, you're 10 seats from the front. I said, 10 seats? 10 seats to the left or 10 seats to the right? No, row 10. I said, how's that possible? You said they were the best seats in the house.
That's insulting.
That was insulting. And then I realized what they meant. For a giant like Ron Burgundy and the little people of Japan, they was head and shoulders above everyone.
That's true. That's true. You do dwarf those little people.
Right. And then I realized Japan isn't a place for Ron Burgundy.
Certainly not.
A.S.N. News is the place for Mr. Burgundy.
So you passed up a free flight, free hotel, free admission to prime seats at a Japanese wrestling show, and you passed on it to report the news to our good people today.
I did. And do you know why else I passed it up? Because that schmuck, John Moxley, was headlining it. And I remembered a little conversation a while back with another schmuck that got two first names, James and Roy. What type of person names their son James when their surname's Roy? Roy James would sound a whole lot better than James Roy, would it not, Mr. Wilde?
Perhaps Roy.
What type of idiot would call a son Roy?
The same kind that would call them James Roy.
Now, Roy'd be good. He'd certainly fit into the wrestling community.
Now, Butcher, really quick, let's step away from the wrestling community. We're going to get into the assassination attempt of former president of these United States, Donald Trump. But before we do, I have a piece of breaking news outside of the Trumperverse. Apparently, the Joker keyed the Batmobile. The Joker keyed the Batmobile. Butcher, you look good.
I know. Let me just bear with me. Let me open my window. Oh look, open my window. Gotta do the vocals. Open my window. Open my window.
How not? Okay.
Everybody, come and see how good I look.
Yeah.
Did you catch my good side?
I caught your good side, and I hope you don't mind today, Butcher, but I had a little bit of a wardrobe malfunction, and somehow my pants vanished. They left me, and they went back to the
Did you go to a pants party?
pants store.
The pants store? I mean, you look like you went for a visit to the toilet store, but
Butcher, were you trying to hint around and say that there is a party in your pants and I'm invited?
there is always a party in my pants, Rob.
Okay.
You know that.
Let's get on to some current events now, Mr. Burgundy.
What?
So, as you know,
just bear me. What's that, Ragnar? You ate a whole wheel of cheese?
a whole wheel.
I'm not even mad. That's amazing.
That's impressive.
It's impressive. You know I don't speak Spanish.
English, please.
Let's cover the Trumpinator.
Why don't you ask your dog Baxter to go ahead and visit his great and noble friends, the Bears, while we go ahead and talk about some news?
What's that?
So, as we know, over here in the United States, there was an attempt made on former President Trump's life. That's what was reported the day that it happened. And I'm very curious to hear how it's being reported in the United Kingdom. But apparently, this is the assassination attempt that has gained so much criticism, for lack of a better word, because the pieces don't quite fit together. There are huge, huge holes all through the story. I have compiled a couple of videos. We've compiled a couple of photographs. And to anybody out there who is watching, listening, go ahead and chime in right here in the chat room. Tits McGee. Tits McGee couldn't make it into work today, Chris. I think she's over at his house. I think he's trying to cover for her.
You know I can't look at another woman. Veronica Corningstone is the only woman I look at.
I want to shout it from a mountain, but I don't have a mountain.
She's a dirty pirate hooker.
Why don't you go back to your home on Whore Island? Okay, let's get down to this.
I want to punch Tits McGee in the ovary.
So there are a bunch of really, really conflicting things. For instance, something I recently learned about was the fact that the Secret Service was not the primary security. They were imported outside security. They were supposed to be from the, I don't know, somewhere.
Toilet
Homeland
store.
Protection. They're supposed to be from the toilet store. They got their security from the pants store. Yes, and the toilet store.
Yes.
And that's really bringing it up. But let's really get into it, because there was some confusion recently with somebody who thought that perhaps we were calling the legitimacy of the shooting as a whole into question. And that just simply is not the fact. I want everybody to know that right out the gate. The shooting happened. 2 people lost their lives that day. What is in question is, was Mr. Trump actually hit in the ear by the bullet? And it turns out now that the claims of the bullet hitting him in the ear are not the only claims that are being made. Other claims that are being made was he took a bullet directly mid-mass, but he happened to be wearing a bulletproof vest. So that's why he managed to survive that. And I compiled a couple of photos that I would like to share with you, Mr. Butcher, and get your opinion on it. So let's start. Well, they're both equally as they both bring up as many questions as the others. So let's start with the bullet hole. So here we go. Supposedly, Donald Trump was shot in the chest without getting knocked off his feet or showing any pain. And I don't know how many of our viewers have actually been struck while wearing a vest. I have. And you don't just stand right up and start throwing body parts in the air. It feels like a fucking truck hit you.
You know that's a mouth hole.
Well, that's a good point that you bring up. So let's explore this through a different angle. So there's that one. Now, the next photo I was going to display, like I displayed this one, but this is going to bring up a few more questions. So we're going to do a larger photo here. Give me one moment to get that on screen because zoom in is important. So here we go. So this is right after. Here we go. Same dead center area. No bullet marks being presented. So what I believe that was, in fact, was just a shadow. I don't think it was a scam perpetrated by Trump. I just think that's how it happened to play out. And some dipshit grabbed a hold of it, went, ooh, look, now let me make up this big story. Because one thing I know for sure, Trump is not wearing a vest in that photo. He is not wearing a vest in that photo. I've wore vests for years.
The funny thing about, right, now, if I could break character for a minute.
You? Never.
I watched, we obviously I think when we spoke and I said Donald Trump was scheduled to be on the stand at 5 p.m. Pennsylvania. Is that it, West Coast?
Yes, sir.
West Coast.
That's Eastern time.
He eventually
no, West Coast, East Coast, Eastern time zone.
He eventually took the stand at 5 minutes past 6. Our time, that would have meant we were probably looking at around 12 hours later. But when obviously I was watching it, they'd shown that image of the bulletproof bullet, yeah, and they said that it was taken as a still. Okay. Yes, there's the mosquito.
It kind of looks like a cloud, doesn't it?
Listen, right? Where were them bullets coming from?
Not that direction.
This is how it doesn't make any sense at all. They managed to, we spoke about velocity sounds and the fact that firecrackers were mentioned, and for it to be a firecracker, the noises were too far apart. Firecracker noises are consistent. The bullets were different seconds apart. They until they went into the point where he had retreated and ducked behind the stand.
Correct.
Christopher Wilds.
Except his name is Ward.
You're not wrong. How do you know I'm not wrong, Christopher?
Yeah, you know his name is Butcher. You don't know his name might not just be Ronald. You don't know.
Is this guy trying to be funny? You know what I do with funny people, Christopher? I block them.
I want you to be very careful, Butcher, because Chris Ward did once kill somebody with a trident. He took a trident and he killed the guy.
So, what's that, Ragnar? You saw it? He stabbed a man through the heart with a trident?
I keep telling him he might want to find somewhere safe to go because he's probably wanted for murder.
That's pretty impressive.
That is pretty impressive. So really quickly.
That's the man I wouldn't want to mess with.
Poor Sweet Brick. Poor Sweet Brick. See, he meant to say as Brick, but he wrote ass. That's how confused our own dear Sweet Brick is.
I hear Brick likes lamps.
And he likes loud noises and doesn't know what he's yelling about.
But Brick's a bit special.
Now, let's watch a more recent newscast that was put together in regards to this Donald Trump incident by one of our own.
And we continue to follow the latest here in Trump's attempted assassination. We are getting big breaking news here on this Friday. This is all according to Senator Josh Hawley. He has whistleblowers coming to him that detail most of Trump's security detail working the event last Saturday were not even Secret Service. Again, were not even Secret Service. DHS assigned unprepared and inexperienced personnel. So this is the letter right now that Senator Josh Hawley just put out to the Department of Homeland Security, saying, I write to raise concerns brought to me by whistleblowers about your department's stunning failure to protect former President Trump on July 13th, 2024. As Secretary of Homeland Security, you are ultimately responsible for your agency and its components, including the U.S. Secret Service. Whistleblowers who have direct knowledge of the event have approached my office according to the allegations. The July 13th rally was considered to be a loose security event. For example, detection canines were not used to monitor entry and detect threats in the usual manner. Individuals without proper destinations were able to gain access to backstage areas. Department personnel did not appropriately police the security buffer around the podium and were also not stationed at regular intervals around the event's security perimeter. In addition, whistleblower allegations suggest the majority of DHS officials were not, in fact, Secret Service agents, but instead drawn from the department's Homeland Security investigations. This is especially concerning given that these security investigators were unfamiliar with standard protocols typically used at these types of events, according to the allegations. As a member of the Senate Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee, which has oversight jurisdiction over your department, I will continue to investigate your department's role in the staggering security
That man
failure
with the beard, he's losing his shit.
Unfortunately, your department has not been appropriately forthcoming.
And unfortunately, that really, look at them, all of them. That is very stereotypical of a Trumper. We're going to turn around, scream, and flip people off because we're all together upstairs. Moving on.
With members of Congress abruptly ending the only call with the Secret Service before senators could even ask a question. This is completely unacceptable and contrary to the public's interest in transparency. Instead, we have learned more from whistleblowers than your department's officials. I will continue to protect the confidentiality of all who contact my office and ensure that they receive the full protections under the law to which they are entitled, so that my office can continue its investigation into the events of July 13th, 2024. Please provide the following information no later than 7 days from now. Number one, how did DHS determine to staff the event, including any decision to rely on state or local officers? Number two, what percentage of the DHS agents at the event were from HSI rather than the Secret Service? Were a majority of officers at the event drawn from HSI or other DHS components rather than Secret Service? If so, why? Were HSI agents properly trained in staffing these types of events? Did gaps exist in the security perimeter, and were the usual protocols followed for the use of canines and magnum autonomers? Were agents not appropriately stationed around the podium? Were the standard protocols followed for issuing designated pins to vetted personnel that are allowed backstage? How long did agents physically spend on the ground surveying the site before the event? Did any paperwork obligations prevent a longer and more robust site survey? I await your response. Again, that's Senator Josh Hawley from Missouri with these big whistleblower allegations that have come forward to Senator Hawley. And now this continues to be a major story here, and just really the complete breakdown of security protocols for the former president, Donald Trump. And we will continue to follow really every aspect of this story because it's such a big one. He almost lost his life, and it looks like now from these whistleblowers, they did not have the correct staff for Donald Trump that day. And that is a complete breakdown. And every day it seems something new comes up in this investigation because, well, we haven't got the full story just yet. Secret Service still not giving those updates in a timely fashion. We'll be back. More to come on Live Now from Fox.
And let's give a big thank you to our own Chris Casanova for putting that together. Butcher, big news. Big news just came across my desk. The Human Torch was denied a bank loan.
The Human Torch was denied a bank loan.
First, the Joker keys the Batmobile, and then the Human Torch was denied a bank loan. What is happening to our world? What is happening to our world? So, Butcher, was seeing what you just saw. Pick just the first and the biggest, loudest thing that went off in your head while watching that video. That was you, Chris. You know that was you. Don't pretend.
The loudest noise that went off in my head.
What's up, Diggs?
I really don't think I can think of anything off the top
biggest,
of my head.
Loudest thing on my head was the fact. Well, there was two things. The last one was that the Secret Service is not doing any kind of transparency. They're not.
Of course they're not. They're all ex-WWE employees.
And then secondly, the fact that they just brought on the most untrained, unqualified Homeland Security agents that they could find. Now, what else that sparks in my head was something that Casanova brought up to me last night. Said apparently the rumors that he heard and a video that he saw that people had seen the shooter on the roof very, very clearly. Convention attendees pointed it out to a police officer, and the police officer apparently took no action with that information. And it's so much so, in fact, that if you could just bear with me for 1 second here, Mr. Butcher, I think we have a little
Said
clip.
that word bear again.
What?
Can you smell the menstruation?
Be quiet. Here we go.
Okay,
so let me share. Sir, I will ask you to kindly shut your fucking pie hole. Okay, so let's take a look at this. And this, I was inspired to find this because of Chris. So as you see here in this video, lots of people are looking at the building where the shooter is perched on.
Roughly 8 hours to publicly confirm.
So that actually happened. That he was right there.
Is that the image of him after the service have taken him down?
I believe that is that image. That is the shooter's dead body.
So, like when we spoke the other day, and I said to you when I brought up the fact that Trump was meant to take the stand at 5 p.m., eventually taking the stand at 5 minutes past 6. We spoke about that would have put him on that roof for a good maybe 2 hours.
Certainly.
You know, and of these 2 hours, a police officer had already seen this individual, climbed a ladder, and was scared off by the individual who the officer didn't warn the Secret Service. Yeah, I mean, listen, right? Presidents have been assassinated before. The Harvey Oswald, killed President Kennedy. You know, um, none of this. This is kind of like it. I don't know, right, how it sits, and I don't want to. This is not offensive in any means, and believe me, on I don't like people to lose their lives.
Of course not. Of course not. Not even Trump.
And this is the thing is, something. There's 2 civilians dead. Yeah. So the bullets, either that guy didn't hit, or someone else took a shot.
Now, see,
Okay?
there's another angle of the conspiracy theories that I have not yet heard.
Or either someone else took a shot.
Before we get any deeper into that, there is some video evidence that I would like to share. But so far, just where we're at so far, I think we could keep a pretty accurate count of the holes that we are finding in this whole story in the first place. In fact, let me and Chris, you are right. The menstruation does in fact attract bears. All right. So anyway, so far we have found 4 holes in the story. And if it's okay with you, I would like to go ahead and attack just a couple more possible holes.
You said hole.
Hole. Yeah, hole. First of all, during Reagan, during any presidential assassination that was unsuccessful, the Secret Service did not, for a half of a twat hair, allow Reagan to jump up and show his head and show his hand. Fight! Fight! No. Fuck no, that did not happen. The Secret Service secured that man, put his head down, got him to safety, double quick and in a hurry. The way the Secret Service was surrounding Mr. Trump, it certainly does look to me like they were just a bunch of fucking photo ops. Look how low that woman is. There is absolutely no realistic way that a Secret Service agent would go down just to protect Trump's dick and not worry about his vital organs.
If I could go back into Burgundy mode right for a minute, there is no way would Kevin Costner or Clint Eastwood let any of that happen.
That's correct. That's correct. So let's take a look then. Let's take a closer look. So we'll start with this. Now, Butcher, let's have a moment of some vigorous honesty here, shall we? Let's take a good hard look at his ear.
Dude, that's just this is the thing, right? I can't say this. Do you know why I really this is offensive to me?
I do not.
Is the mockery that this is that doesn't even have the right shade for blood.
It's certainly not ketchup. I'll tell you that.
And
it's some kind of
and the fact that there's a hell of there's no blood down the rest of the side of that face. Where does if now the way I see that, right? I've heard blood pellets, I've heard other things, but if you can go back to that still.
Okay. I'll do that. Let me do this first here. Let me put this up and then I will back this. We'll put that back and we'll bring the still back up.
Now, I'm paying attention to the fact that a man has just been shot here in his ear. His ear is intact. And then you've got that trail of blood, which looks like a man has just dragged what I would say appears to be a hand If I'd been shot and you'd been anywhere near that ear or that area, there would be a hell of a lot more blood on that. On the ear is intact.
Correct. And I don't see even a scratch, to be honest with you.
There's
And
no blood in his
the
hair.
the streaking pattern that you're referring to that goes across his face looks very remnant on if you took a packet and squeezed it and it shot in one direction.
It does. I mean, I'm a little bit, fixated as well on the color of the man's hair, and it doesn't appear to be.
Right.
I mean, the lobe of the ear is it's clean-ish. The neck has no blood. Pay attention to his collar on his shirt.
Yeah, there's no continued bleeding, nothing. So let's take that, right? So this is what we just saw, and let's contrast that to him the very next afternoon. The very next afternoon, old former President Trump at the golf course. All you see are tufts of his weird hair. You don't see any evidence, and granted, this is not the greatest photo, but you don't see any evidence of there having ever been a serious wound there. Now, that's him just the very next day after they supposedly tried to kill him. And when I say they, I am simply mirroring the Republicans' talking points. Everything to the Republicans is, look what they're doing. They're trying to take this. They're trying to kill him. It's always some mystical them, they. So that was him the very next day after the shooting, the very next day at the RNC. He's wearing this fucking tampon on his ear. And I can't think of a medical professional who would ever dress a wound in such a pathetic homemade fashion as we're looking at right here. Not to mention watching all of his little supporters out there putting tampons on their ear too, to be in solidarity. First, they wear diapers to be in solidarity. Then they put tampons on their ears. Anything to stand behind dear leader. Now, I'm not trying to get off on a rant here or anti-Republican, because right now my feelings on the American democratic system is very, very broken, very jaded. The Republicans have proven to us beyond a shadow of a doubt that they have no morals. The Democrats have proven to us beyond a shadow of a doubt that they have no fucking spine.
Mm-hmm.
So it's bad. It's from bad to worse, to worse, to worse. It never is getting any better. Now, see, Chris is not a staunch Republican, but he is definitely more right-leaning than left-leaning. One thing you can count on from Chris is he's going to say it exactly how he sees it. He's not going to sugarcoat it to favor a feeling, right? So when him saying it's hard to tell based on, I believe he's talking about the ear wound golfing the next day, the lack of the wound. For Chris to say it's hard to tell carries some weight. But to me, it shows nothing. You see, like if he really had an open wound on his ear, it would be covered. His hair would be somehow pushed and pinned back so it didn't get inside the wound. There's a million things that would have happened that weren't happening.
From an employee stance, right? If you'd just been shot in the ear and then the next day you were out playing golf, you wouldn't have another day employed by that employer. I mean, granted, I am not going to have this conversation or argument with you, Christopher.
Please, Mr. Burgundy, please show who you call Christopher some respect. Call him Brick.
Brick.
Brick's my little sweetie boy.
But to say, Brick, that you cannot tell? How would you speak to an employee of yours that'd been shot in the ear and decided to go play golf?
But let's stick to the facts here of Trump doesn't have an employer. Trump is not an employee of anybody. Even
No,
when he was the
granted.
president, he was the even when he was the president, he was not the servant of the people. He was the servant of himself. Brick, now I want you to settle down and stop making threats. Brick, you're alive. Brick, you're right there. You're alive. Anyway. So, like, and the thing is, again, there is no medical records that are being presented just to prove that he did, in fact, have a gash on his ear from anything, not even from a bullet, just from anything, that he did have a legitimate wound. No stitches, no nothing, no reporting, no nothing. So, let's now navigate away from trying to report the facts as we're finding them to get just a little bit more conspiratorial. Because one of the things that the FBI is investigating is the Secret Service and this Homeland Security Force. Because the FBI is under the impression this is not conspiracy, this is what's being reported. What they are investigating is a little conspiratorial. What they're investigating is the fact that somebody from the private police, from Homeland, from Secret Service, did in fact recognize that shooter up on the roof, where every other rooftop shooter could absolutely see that guy. And they let him go up there, and they reported this to Trump, and they made this master plan of there's no way this kid is going to make contact with you at 160 yards. He's not a professional. Let him fire, and let's work an injury. So that's
unless the Secret Service were in on it and I decided to let him take the shot.
I don't believe for a second anybody thought. I would be surprised if even the shooter thought I'll be able to hit him from here.
I just find it hard to believe, right? I find it hard to believe as a Brit, as a person that when he took over the United States of America, his reputation wasn't great. The things that he did in his presidency were yeah. So I was surprised that attempts weren't made in his presidency. So I mean, for a young Republican, this person was the people want to pay attention, and they want to constantly poke and prod and say this was a child that was bullied in school, and the pupils took none of this makes any sense to me.
And well, I think it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to anybody, even the staunch.
I can't see how you can sit there as a Republican, right? By all means, support your people, support your man, support your beliefs. Don't ever change your beliefs because someone tells you have to.
Well, that's democracy.
Yep, but that's it. All we have, all we have is who we are. That is how we're people. That's all we are people. Our beliefs are our own.
Hold on just a second. Don't you try to push us during our show into showing commercials. We'll get to it when we get to it. I'm sorry, Butcher. Continue.
Okay. So the way I see this whole situation is when people can sit there like we have, and believe me, people, we're impartial. Well, I am, because I'm not an American. And people are going, but you're Mr. Burgundy. Right now, I'm Butcher. I have an issue with mental health and I have a split personality.
And you're a wrestling fan. Go figure.
And I'm a wrestling fan. Go figure. Yeah. But to sit there and look at the things that in question and still support. This is a man, right? That if any of this to me is legit, then I'm a pretty stupid person. There comes the Ron again. He's out. Shut up, Ron.
Be careful. Don't speak to Mr. Burgundy like that.
I can't look at it and believe that. I can't believe something so stupid. This is it. There's no sincerity. It just doesn't look.
Butcher, the producers are leaning on us. Apparently, we have some PSAs that we have to play as part of our contract on the network. So let's just get one of them out of the way so maybe that they'll just kind of get off our back.
You think I can have some more?
Yeah, we should totally hit it again, but I get first dibs on it.
To me come off, first me nearly dead with laugh. I watch the people rush the door like a bash a choco. Fun time there, time for the bus ride. Sunshine there, a time for the bus ride. Sunshine there, a time for the bus ride. Fun time there, a time for the bus ride. No! G.I. Joe!
Both riveting and compelling. Butcher, I have another piece of news that just came across my desk. Apparently, the skeleton ran out of shampoo in the shower.
The skeleton
ran out of shampoo
in the shower?
All kinds of horrible things are happening all around us, Mr. Burgundy. By the way, boys and girls, you are watching the Antisocial Network. I'm Rob Fantana, joined, of course, by Butcher Burgundy, and we are going to be coming at you every now and again with these special news reports. And let's also take just a quick second, Mr. Burgundy, to promote what's happening tonight, our monthly special event that we at the network call Gut Shank Theater. Tonight, we will be reviewing Night of the Living Dead Colorized. Shall we see a quick commercial?
I would like to.
This is Jack Burton in the Pork Chop Express, and I'm talking to whoever's listening out there.
Well, son of a bitch, that wasn't it.
Jack Burton?
Well, you know what Jack Burton always says. He says next month you'll be watching Big Trouble in Little China. That's what Jack Burton always says. Anyway, sorry, my bad. Wrong commercial. Tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Join the gang. We're going to be watching Night of the Living Dead Colorized. They're coming to get you, Butcher.
They wouldn't dare.
Oh, they would. And they will. Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir, they will. So, Butcher, I think we're getting a little long in the tooth here. So let's just kind of condense this message down to what it's supposed to be. Obviously, there was a shooter. 2 people died. 2 people were injured and who are going to survive. An actual fire chief, an actual hero, died protecting his family during this incident. I know I prefaced the beginning of the show with this, and I want to end it with, we are not debating whether or not the shooting itself happened. We're not Alex Jones. We're not going to go that route. What we are questioning is the legitimacy of the injury that Trump supposedly suffered as a result. And when pictures like this surface, it got me for a little bit right in the beginning. But then when you take a harder look at it, I don't buy it. Especially when this surfaces the next day. The very next day. And the day after, suddenly this pops up. Look, I am not a Republican by any means, but the point of this broadcast today is it is not to try to get you, the viewers, to choose a partisanship. What it is just supposed to make you think in a safe place in your own world watching us. Just think outside your own bubble. If you think perhaps it was a total con, think outside that bubble. Think of, could it have been sincere? Whatever it takes, think. And let that thought inspire you to vote. Vote red, vote blue, vote other, but fucking vote, okay? They made a big deal in 2020 that this was going to be the most important election cycle of our lifetime. And with new things coming to life like Project 2025, I want to be a dictator on the first day, things that never came out in his first campaign are coming out in Mr. Trump's second.
Yeah.
He has been convicted of 34 separate felony counts, and there are more on the horizon. I personally am not going to tell you who to vote for. What I am going to tell you is let's look at all the facts as objectively as we can so we as a country could try to make the right decision. Sex Panther. Chris, as a matter of fact, I do have quite the supply of Sex Panther. You know, Butcher, have you tried Sex Panther?
$13,000.
Well, you know, they've done studies on it. 60% of the time, it works every time.
That makes no sense.
And on that note, Butcher, do you have anything you'd like to leave us on?
Good afternoon. I'm Ron Burgundy, and you stay classy, antisocial.